Welcome back to the Ripewave audio community. My name is John, and for this video, we have a refresh of a video we posted a year and a half ago, November 2020, on immersive formats and who's winning. Is it Dolby Atmos, dts-es Pro, Auro 3D, IMAX Enhanced? Who is it? Now that we've been another year and a half since we looked at this, and we have our Ripewave audio database. And I thought, well, this will be a quick one to put together, but I couldn't help myself. I dug into the data a little bit more, and I wanted to think about how to best present this to you. And but anyhow, we've got our 29 brands that we're looking at. It's really more like 28 because Outlaw Audio really hasn't done a processor recently. We're probably going to drop them off the list if they don't do something in the next year. But anyhow, we have our 28 core brands that are active here, and immersive formats have been out since 2014. It started with Auro 3D and Dolby Atmos coming out about the same time in 2014. So how has this evolved since then? And now that's nearly 8 years under the belt of immersive formats being available to us as home theater enthusiasts. And one might expect they'd all support these formats by now, but that's not the case. There's still gaps in support. And since there's competing formats, there's been preferences on which one you like better. But it did start with Auro 3D, and we're taking a look at this. Now, there hasn't been a lot of content for Auro 3D, but people love the upmixer, and this is what we've been hearing a lot. And I want to make it easier for you to know which brands actually have this format and the other formats we'll discuss in this session. So it does come down to 15 of the 28 brands that do have Auro 3D, and there are 59 models out there to choose from. So that represents 45% of the actively sold processors and receivers that are out there today. So who has it? Arcam, Audio Control, Bryston, Datastat, Denon, Focal, JBL Synthesis, Lingdorf, Marantz, Macintosh, Monoprice, Storm Audio, Theta Digital, Trinoff, and Yamaha. And we do have a few that we have shaded orange. We know that Integra, Onkyo, Pioneer, that grouping of brands that have common ownership, are looking to put out Auro 3D this year. So we had a bunch that came in early on. And we look at this now, a lot of them, their full ranges got these capabilities. Now, where we see like Arcam has 7 out of their 9 models, or Denon has 4 out of 11, what you'll notice is the upper end models traditionally have it, and then they have a few entry-level models that don't. And then you need to have enough channels in the processor or the receiver really to make use of a format like Auro 3D for that. And this is kind of what we're seeing. Now, what I want to also do is see who was first. And all these that have stars here were first to market with Auro 3D in 2014 when it was launched. Datastat, Denon, Lingdorf, Marantz, Storm Audio, and Trinoff all were right there from the beginning. And so the green models were within the first 3 years of introduction. The blue ones are the next 3 years. And the orange are essentially the late adopters. But what we're seeing with Auro 3D is more companies are jumping in, and I think it's because of the upswell of the Auro-matic upmixer, and they want to be part of that. That the consumer's saying they want that. So late entries are Arcam, Audio Control, or just most recently, and then Yamaha just came out with its processors that have that. So yeah, some late adopters there for 45% of the market having Auro 3D. Now, let's take a look at Dolby Atmos, which came out in the same year. And we're seeing just about every processor receiver out there in the market having it, with a few exceptions. Now, Meridian is kind of a unusual one. I can't find a lot of information on it. They were, they're known for their active speakers. They did have these processors. One came out in 2013, just before the immersive video audio came out, but we really haven't seen new models from them since. So yeah, no immersive that I can tell. If you know better, let me know. So a few gaps, but it's more the entry level, the 5.1, 7.1 processors that are out there. They don't bother with Dolby Atmos or any of the other immersive formats if they don't have enough channels. So that's where we see the gaps. But this is 92% of the market, so 119 models from 27 brands. This is great penetration from Dolby Atmos. They really have been the leaders in immersive format. And we can see here a lot of early adopters: Datastat, Denon, Integra, Lingdorf, Marantz, Onkyo, Pioneer, Trinoff, and Yamaha were all there in the first year. Now we still see a few new ones coming in with support, and some new brands like Tone Winner and Iota VX coming in most recently. And then a lot of them there was a bunch that came in kind of mid-wave, 2017 through 2019. dts-es. And so this came out, there was a limit on how many channels that could actually decode with dts-es. Came out a year after Atmos did. So you're limited to 12 channels of decoding here. 11.1 is what I understand here. A good penetration here, 91%, so only a percentage point behind. So largely the same. We're only talking about a model or two here that's different. There were some early adopters in 2015: Acurus, Arcam, Denon, Lingdorf, JBL Synthesis, Trinoff, Yamaha. So a lot of the similar players. We noticed that a lot of the higher end processors, those that sell for over $10,000, tend to jump in early. And then along with Denon and Marantz, there are always early adopters here. But in this case with dts-es, you'd had the Pioneer, Onkyo, and Yamaha, and so a lot more jumping in early here. But again, just strewn out over these 7 or 8 years. Looking at dts-x Pro, now to go beyond the barrier of 12 channels, DTS came out with X came out with dts-x Pro out there, and very slow on the adoption. Now this didn't hit the market until 2019. So what we're seeing here is only a few manufacturers. The first one was on the market here was in 2019 with Trinoff, and that was followed by Denon, Marantz, and Macintosh, and then ultimately Storm Audio and JBL Synthesis with their flagship model only, and Lingdorf. But all the other brands have not brought in dts-x Pro. Of course, you're really limited to something with 13 channels or more on this. So very slow adoption on dts-x Pro. And now we have I'd throw in here as well, which is not really a sound format, but Dolby Vision, which was also introduced in 2014. There's 82% of the market that is adopted Dolby Vision, so good penetration, not quite as much as the immersive formats, but what you will see is some models supporting Dolby Vision where they don't have even dts-x or Dolby Atmos support. And as far as adoption, we didn't track this in our database when each came out. But we'll also look here quickly is IMAX Enhanced. So 51% of the market has IMAX Enhanced as a capability. Better penetration on Dolby Vision versus IMAX Enhanced. So 82% with Dolby Vision and 51% with IMAX Enhanced. But it came 4 years later in 2018. So we've yet to see this on some products. It's interesting that some of the really expensive models, don't have either IMAX Enhanced or Dolby Vision. We're going to take a little look closer at that in a little bit here. So I built up a chart here to show how this adoption has been going on by brand since 2014, this kind of the road to immersion, if you will. And this really shows the green bars here are your Dolby Atmos, and the orange bars are dts-x, and the purple bars are Auro 3D. And you can see here that while dts-x had a year late start getting going, we see just about every brand that has Auro 3D also have dts-x. So by where we are now in 2022, we see equal penetration there for those two formats. Auro 3D, came out strong out of the gates, and kind of leveled off there for a bit, but it has been recent resurgence, as we said. So you can see in recent years, 2019 through now, some more activity happening there as well. Now, dts-x Pro, this didn't come into the market until 2019. That was the Trinoff model. And you can see that it has a little bit of growth, but only a portion of what Auro 3D, and I think it's about half the number of brands that are involved with Auro 3D are involved with dts-x Pro. So there really hasn't been a movement to that format. Now I'm just showing here at the end the final quantities for Dolby Vision and IMAX Enhanced, which, as I said, aren't really formats in themselves, but it's interesting to see their strength. Not quite all the same number of brands support each. Here you can see Dolby Vision is got more support than IMAX Enhanced overall, but it had a 4-year late start. Now, a lot of you are wondering, if I want to come in the cheapest way and use into the immersive market, what's out there for processors at what price points? And you can get into Dolby Atmos and dts-x for under $1,000. In fact, under $500 with the Pioneer VSX 534 at $350. So that's a really affordable way to get into Dolby Atmos and dts-x if you're just focusing just on the format support. Now, it may not have the amplification and the number of channels that you want, but at least you're in the immersive game. To get into Auro 3D, you have to pay at least $2,100, such as with the Denon AVR X4700H, which is the lowest cost receiver or processor that I can find with Auro 3D support. If you want dts-x Pro, you have to pay a little bit more, and you have to jump up from the 4700H up to the 6700H from Denon, which is another $1,000 at $3,100. So this is the cost of entry, and the prices just go up from there. So Atmos and dts-x, those you can get for under $1,000 or a little bit more. If you have a modest a budget for your immersive system, but if you want to get into Auro 3D or dts-x Pro, prepare to spend a lot more for your receiver or processor. And some of that's just the natural cost of the additional channels, and some of that is paying a premium for those formats. Here's another way to look at it. What we've done is divided this up into price points: under $1,000, between $1,000 and $3,000, $3,000 to $5,000, $5,000 to $10,000, and over $10,000, and see how these are distributed. So naturally, the Dolby Atmos, which has the most support, that looks, it's spread out pretty evenly. You can get something in every price point for that. Now, it's a little artificial over $10,000 the way our database is structured, because some of these processors from Storm and Trinoff, etc., have multiple models. A JBL Synthesis was the other one I was trying to think of. Basically the same platform, so it's a little artificial. It's not really that many variants. I may have to restructure that later, but at least I'm applying it equally. dts-es is very similar. As you know, those were kind of equal levels there. So you can find something at every price point for Atmos and dts-es. So here you can see, as you get into Auro 3D, there are only 6 models available between $1,000 and $3,000. There's 11 models between $3,000 and $5,000. And of course, the rest of the models are over $5,000. dts-es Pro, you can't get in for under $3,000. So between $3,000 and $5,000, there's 4 models to choose from, 2 between $5,000 and $10,000, and the majority of them are over $10,000 to get dts-es Pro. So that's the most premium format that's out there that we can tell. Now, who supports them all? If you want to check, if you're a box checker and you want every format from Atmos, dts-es, Auro 3D, dts-es Pro, Dolby Vision, and IMAX Enhanced, who has them all? Well, here they are. The Denon, anything from the AVR X6700 on up, basically $3,100 and up on the Denon line, is going to check all those boxes. For Marantz, for the receiver side, you've got the SR8015, and the processor side, you've got the AV8805A, basically 2 models at $3,700 and $5,000 respectively. Macintosh, who borrows from Marantz technology, they have the MX123 at $9,000. Storm Audio, all the ISP Elite models, $13,000 on up, over $20,000, but you check all the boxes just as well. And Trinoff, starting with the Altitude 16 and the 32, everything on up, so at least $18,000, and then well above $25,000. So those are all the models I know of that check all these boxes. Now, if you're willing to sacrifice a few things, so if you didn't care about dts-es Pro, you got a few more options. You've got the Denon AVR X4700H at $2,100. Everything but dts-es Pro. The Arcam, the whole lineup, the AVR 10 on up, at starting at $2,750, get you that as well. The Marantz SR7015 and the AV7706, the receiver and processor respectively, very close in price, $2,800 and $3,000 respectively, get you the same thing. Audio control, essentially their whole line, the Concert XR4 on up, starting at $3,600. On JBL Synthesis, this is their standard range, the SDP55 and the SDR, the processors and the receivers, SDR35. This includes the new 58 and 38 models. But that all starts at $6,600. Now, if you want to keep dts-es Pro, but you're willing to give up Dolby Vision or IMAX, of course, you're above $10,000 at that point. You have the Lingdorf MP60, their new HDMI 2.1 version of that at just under $15,000. The Macintosh MX170, which was recently replaced with the MX180 at $15,500 and $17,000 respectively. And that drops the IMAX Enhanced support, but does give you Dolby Vision. And JBL Synthesis, their flagship, the SDP-75 on up, starting at $27,475. So there's some more options if you want to check a lot of boxes, but the prices go up quite high once you leave the Denon, Arcam, Marantz camp. And that kind of wraps it up. I hope you found this video useful. I had a lot of fun doing this data research, and I'm glad to be passing it on to you. Of course, the Ripewave audio database is something that we make use of to our Patreons, and we will be sending that update with this new data in there to comb through if you're a Patreon. But regardless of that, what do you think of this? What are your thoughts around? Do you want to check all the boxes or not? What formats do you think are important? Which ones you think you could leave behind? That feedback would be useful to the Ripewave audio community. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when the next video is posted. Until then, keep evolving your audio experience.